Welcome to the West Michigan Marketing Show, where we spotlight marketing leaders and business innovators making an impact in our community. I'm Rebecca VanDenBerg, and in this episode, I am thrilled to introduce Katie Smith of Smith Social. Katie and her team specializes in social media strategy and implementation, and she brings years of experience. Today, we'll explore her journey and her passions, as well as how she helps West Michigan thrive. So let's introduce Katie.
Hi, so good to be here. Thanks, Rebecca.
So Katie, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you, what led you to a career in marketing?
Yeah, definitely. So I've owned Smith Social for almost 10 years. So we're going to celebrate 10 years here in April. So it's been a while. We are based in Holland, Michigan, but my team is spread throughout the state of Michigan. I fell into marketing back in college. So I went to Cornerstone University in Grand Rapids, and I was just going for a business degree, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Took my first mandatory marketing class and fell in love. And I was like, yep, that's what I'm going to major in. That's what I'm going to specialize in. It was, I just loved the strategy behind marketing, and majored in that as well as international business. And upon graduating, it was 2010. It was really when social media was really taking off for businesses. Businesses could start Facebook pages. There was LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram was following shortly behind. Pinterest was taking off. So it was like a really exciting time for marketing. And I was just like, yeah, this is the future of marketing, and this is what I want to be doing.
That's awesome. It's great isn't it great when you you feel inside that that's a match? Like, as a young person, I think that's a struggle, right? Trying to find the thing that you're the best fit for. And so when it does, when it zings, or when you find that match, that's kind of it's a cool thing. So that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Business was like, I don't know, this seems safe. So it was definitely like destiny to find marketing.
That's awesome. It's cool. Well, let's talk about some current trends. What do you think what's the most exciting trend in your world? Obviously, marketing can be a lot of things, but you specialize in social media marketing. What do you think is an exciting trend that you're seeing the most effective for customers, but maybe more especially for local businesses in West Michigan?
Yeah, definitely. So one trend, it's been around for a while, is like overall is influencer marketing. But what I'm really excited about is niche influencers, especially for local businesses, because I think it's just like overlooked right now in West Michigan. And it really gives like an opportunity for brands, products, services to bring in more like UGC content to really like make it more personal and authentic. So like a lot of businesses are posting on social media like graphics and team photos and messages around their products or services, which is all like great. They need to tell their story and what they provide. But niche influencers really like open up an opportunity to just be really personal, make it authentic, and bring in more people into their like content, which is just going to make it relatable, right? And shareable, and like push it out there more.
It's funny that you say that, because I can think of somebody who I kind of follow, I would call her a local micro influencer. And I relate to her because she's here. I like an influencer in New York City, I'm not going to relate to as well as an influencer who's right here in West Michigan, who shops at some of the same places I shop, who cooks the same kind of food, who has similar interests or whatever. So I totally agree with that. Are you guys have you been able to start building relationships with some of those influencers in certain industries or genres that help your clients?
Yeah, definitely. So a couple examples. One is in the food and beverage industry. I think just kind of like thinking of like local people and what they would be interested in, like if there's bars and restaurants, or whether you sell to the bars and restaurant industry, is looping in those like influencers in their for example, there's cocktail influencers.
Oh,
There's people that go around to bars and restaurants like in Grand Rapids or downtown Detroit and like just post about their experiences at restaurants. So like looping in that type of niche or micro influencer is like a great opportunity to get content, but also get into the audience that you want that's beyond your followers.
I never thought of within the niche of restaurants and bars, there being a niche even
Yeah.
further of
Yeah.
like you could be a steak, connoisseur, you could be the cocktail thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is really interesting. I never
There's
thought
a
to go that deep.
whole there's a whole set of influencers even that are just making cocktails and drinks at their house. Or
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's just super interesting.
I'm gonna have to consider the being a steak influencer because I really like steak.
That sounds
I'll
fun.
just consider that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Another
Yeah.
example is in like the pet food industry. If you niche in influencers in areas, then they're shopping at retail stores that you are, which is kind of similar to what you were saying about, then you feel related to them. So
Yeah.
if you shop at Meijer, that's very West Michigan, then you want influencers showcasing the products that they're purchasing at Meijer, then you can purchase at Meijer. But if they're in New York City and there's no Meijer, that it falls short.
Right. That totally makes sense. And the pets industry is ginormous. Like it's everybody got a pet during COVID and now everybody's taking care of their pets and treating them like children and it's wild. Like and it's like a great time to be a veterinarian because you're rolling in the dough.
It's a great time to be in the pet industry or a pet influencer. They are
Yeah,
very popular.
I bet. I love my pets, but I'm not. Yeah, yeah. So we can relate, but I'm not going to be an influencer in the pet industry. That's
I
cool.
give them so much credit. My pets don't do what I say, so I give us so much credit that they can get their pets to perform for content.
No doubt, no doubt. But you do see. So would that count? It's people who have separate channels for their pets. I've seen that for years, like on Instagram, where they train them to push those buttons to talk, to say those words, right? I've seen those around for years and years. Do you think that not all only just the person or the pet channel itself is considered a niche influencer?
Yeah, I mean, I see both.
Yeah,
So I think the pet owners can be their own pet influencer, even though their pet has their own account too.
neat, really
Yeah.
neat. I'm starting to see accounts pop up with people who have pet cows, which is
Yeah.
complete. It's a complete removal of livestock as production animals and having livestock as pets. I can't wrap my brain around it when people are videotaping their cows in their house eating popcorn with them. Like this can't be real. Some of it has to be a little bit for show and for attention, but I'm like, the person can't really have that in their house. But there are people like mini horses, they have like separate rooms. I just think it's wild. To me, livestock belong outside.
Yeah. I just saw a post. I mean, it's Valentine's today, but it was saying that all I want for Valentine's Day is a little fluffy cow. So yeah.
It's gotten a little bit, as somebody who comes from a farm and agriculture, seeing that makes me cringe a little, but everybody can do their own thing. I get it. But I have a hard time understanding production livestock animals being inside someone's house. It just blows my mind. So anyways, tangent over. So what are some common challenges that you guys help when you're sitting down with a customer and you're doing a strategy? What is it that you see most common that businesses are struggling with?
Yeah. So really throwing this out there, but I think it's budget misconceptions in like marketing and social media. I know that's like hard to swallow sometimes, but I think there's just a big misconception, especially around social media, that it's the cheap option. And I think maybe back in 2010, 2015, it was a cheaper option than when you were coming from days of radio, TV, and that. But it's a mainstream option now. And so I think there's a misconception that you don't have to invest the time money and resources into social media like you would TV. Like you wouldn't just run one commercial and be done. You would run a campaign. So I think there's just a misconception that I can like get a quick fix, get quick sales, spend little money and get my return faster. And but really it takes time. It takes time to build anything that's in marketing, right? It takes time to get in front of your target audience. It takes time for them to receive that message, to understand that message. And unfortunately, that takes like an investment on the budget side.
Right. Sorry for the interruption. If you could hear my phone in there, I apologize for that. Hopefully I can keep it from happening again. So dealing with those budget misconceptions, what is a way that you have to work with them to overcome that? Are you showing them case studies? Are you, spelling out recommended, if it's an ad spend versus just what's going to cost to have good content? How do you guys approach that with customers?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just, first explaining it. I think also showcasing that social media is different, because there's TikTok, Instagram Reels, like that never used to be a thing. It used to be like you post a photo on Facebook with a caption and it did well. But now there's so many different types of content, and content development takes time to produce and to do well, and to post consistently. So you need a lot of content. So I think first just like explaining that and breaking that down. And then, yeah, just like going through some examples of like other clients. I really tried to be like, okay, well, here's what I'll do. Let's commit to 6 months. Like that's going to be a solid investment, and let me show you. So we can do case studies, but I just like to do real life examples. Like, let me show you. And then I know in 6 months, like they're going to start seeing traction because they're committing to that long term. And then you can be like, okay, well now let's take that longer. Let's do a year. Let's do 18 months.
Yeah. As somebody who I'm really hot and cold when it comes to social media marketing from my business. And so when I take a break from it, and then when I come back, it takes time and to build up traction again, because you've been silent. And so that's I use that as an example of don't do that, because the effort you take to build that consistency, again, you lose when you take pauses. But it's amazing too to see how quickly it multiplies when you are consistent. That is an interesting feature, especially if you're focusing on the video reel content, where the algorithms are different than they used to be, right? Getting in front of new eyeballs used to be you had to pay for ads. Well, the algorithms, if you're doing video, right, they're sending that out to new eyeballs, which instead of just your followers. So it's almost impossible to keep up on these changes for business owners, because they're dealing with the day-to-day. So it's pretty interesting how, just from my small experience on running our own business, if we're not staying consistent, we might as well not even do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, if a small business is like, we know we need social media because they hear about it everywhere, but if they're not willing to take it long term, I would say then do something else, which is totally fine. You don't have to be on it as much as like it's the shiny object people say you have to be. There's other marketing like tactics to consider.
For sure. There is a lot of options, and that makes it frustrating for business owners, because they hear or see a clip of something that worked for somebody else, and so they just assume it's going to work for them. It might be a different industry. It might be a different audience. I think the audience, understanding the person's audience, is one of the things I find to be something we're always educating from when we're doing website work, but that applies to the social media, because for you guys, getting them recommending that they use one platform or another is really driven off of who their audience is. How do you guys how do you guys handle like the research or the strategy recommendations on channel by channel?
Yeah, we take a look. Like if we're, if I'm pitching to a client or moving forward with a client, we take a deep dive and look at what, if the industry is on that social media, like, are they using the hashtags? Are there posts behind those hashtags? Are people talking about it? But also we look at competitors. Competitors tell a lot of like, where are they investing in the landscape? Even if it's like big competitors that you're like, oh, I'm not really like, they're like more on a national level, but like, where are they playing? Because they might have more intel. So where are they like spending their money? If their Instagram follower is way higher than their LinkedIn following, then like, okay, they must be putting more resources and time into Instagram than they are like LinkedIn or Twitter or X or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. There's data that you can look at the bigger a national audience and take cues from that and apply that at a local level. Because sometimes those interests, the percent of interest or the volume of interest, the ratios it is mirrored here locally from a national perspective, but it's also having that wisdom of discernment of which one, when that applies and when it doesn't. So that's cool. Cool.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, and you don't, as a small to medium business, you don't have to do it all either on social. Like if you, I mean, Starbucks, everyone looks at Starbucks and they're like great on all the platforms, but like you're not going to be Starbucks, and then just pick one, just do one really well. Don't try to do them all.
That's great advice. That's great advice. Well, do you have any recent success stories from any specific campaigns that you would like to share or that listeners might be able to learn from?
Yeah, so I thought of one that I thought would be interesting, kind of thinking about the community focus. So it was like a local car show. And I wanted to share this one to talk a little bit about paid advertising spend on social media. I think sometimes that's often an overlooked opportunity in small businesses as well, because a lot of times it feels like you have to make a big investment to move the needle, but you really don't. So I think it goes back to like that consistency over time. So one of our clients is like a local car show, and they're like a nonprofit. So they do the car show for a nonprofit, and they've just been seeing like slow growth over the years. But with social media, especially paid spend, we were able to like triple the presence.
Oh, wow.
From like the register cars in the like parking lot that lined up on the day to even attendees. Like it was like night and day different, to where this year we're like excited because they're like, okay, that happened last summer, this summer, like what are we going to do now? We can like sell product now, we can do, continue to expand and like grow and like make it more of a revenue generating event, as well as bigger for the nonprofit that they support. So I think like the paid ad spend is like and it wasn't a lot. Like it was just, hundreds of dollars consistently over like, 3 or 4 months leading up to the event. It doesn't have to be like tens of thousands of dollars where you're like, oh, I have to do all of this. It was pretty simple, but it was like overlooked by them that like social media and using ad spend could help them get in front of that, like the car show audience, the people who have the classic cars or go to all the auto shows.
That's interesting. I think that for especially an event promotion, I think that's totally makes sense. And from a local focus, like we talk about, or I'm curious about how you can apply that locally. And I think what you mentioned is how you can target the ads locally.
Yes.
And so maybe you can explain a little more on how that works, because I think businesses misunderstand how much they can drill down into audiences on social media platforms.
Yeah, definitely. So on like meta advertising, so that goes across Facebook and Instagram, you can really drill down into specifically who your target audience is. So backing up, that's really important to establish who is your target audience. So like we wanted to figure out like who is the target audience for the car shows. There was kind of two. There was the people who have the classic cars that bring their cars and pay to come. And then there's like the attendees who are like, oh, I just like car shows, I'm just going to go check it out. So like we really can target based on location. So we picked like zip codes around Michigan that we knew were kind of like areas probably of larger, population. So we probably did like Lansing and Detroit. The car show was like here in the Grand Rapids area. So Grand Rapids, Lansing, Detroit areas. And then we also, did an age range a little bit. because an 18-year-old's not going to own a car, a classic car. So there is like kind of an age range that you can pick. You're like, okay, they honestly, and then we drilled it down to income level, because people who own classic cars and have cars to show, they're going
It's
to
a
have a certain income
right.
level.
There's a profile. You've done that when you do that homework properly. There's a profile, and there are characteristics about that. So that's exactly. There's no shame in understanding that.
Yeah.
It's true, right? The majority of people who can afford that are going to be higher income. So sometimes people forget about that. Is sorting audiences by income level.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's buckets on Meta, so you don't have to pick like a range of income or anything. It's like top 10% or top 15%. Like there's certain buckets to like hit that we're like, okay, that's kind of like people fall into that income bracket. And then we do based on interests or behaviors. So like, for example, if people are interested in other classic car shows, or maybe they're interested in a car magazine, or maybe they're interested in a certain brand of car, or maybe their behavior is that they've visited, Facebook pages related to classic cars.
Yeah, it's amazing how much data and profiling that can be done in a way to help people reach their exact audience. So very interesting. Well, let's talk about the future. What do you see things that the new things that are rolling in, but the future of marketing, like what kind of predictions do you have, especially small to medium-sized businesses here in West Michigan? What do you think's on the horizon?
Yeah, I think video content is sticking around. So that's one thing to like note. I think a lot of businesses need to invest, in doing more video content, just in all of their marketing, short form video, some long form videos coming back, like LinkedIn's really introducing long video again. So I think playing with video is like really, really, it's still here. I don't know if that's like future, but it's still here right now.
Well, I think we've been hearing it for a long time, but now I think with AI, I think it's amplifying the importance of video because AI can't replicate us as well, right? It can, but it's not going to, with video, you can deliver a personal experience, something very specific that AI doesn't have the ability to unless you're just using AI generated to generate the video with your script. But I think I'm not sure people love that yet. I think the data will tell. I think people are more drawn to real video than the fake videos.
Yeah.
But I think that it's amplified. I think we've known, if you've been paying attention in marketing, you've known that video was important. But I feel like the AI has catapulted this to even the next level, as well as the way the algorithms are using video and all the platforms are promoting it. Like, I feel like it's a perfect storm in a way, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah. I think with AI, authenticity is going to just be elevated because AI is not bad. I think it definitely is a good tool, but I think it's going to elevate authenticity, especially when you're like choosing a brand to follow or to be a part of or to get behind.
That makes sense. So, are you guys, just while we're talking about AI, is there anything you guys are loving with AI? Any specific tools? I mean, a new tool comes out every day. It's almost impossible to keep up with it. I love
I can't keep up.
I test things all the time when I have time. Especially because we make websites. There's website builders every other, day and some of them are okay and some of them are not even close. I don't think I'm out of a job just yet, but
yeah.
You're probably seeing that same pressure. There's, AI tools to generate social content. And so I'm curious how you guys what you're loving, hating, exploring, or testing.
Yeah. I mean, I love the AI tools, whether it's ChatGPT or even our social media management tool has AI built into it for like helping with writing. I think the reduction of grammatical errors, spelling mistakes has reduced, and like we're human, we're not perfect. So like that's been really nice just to have like, okay, that feels like more covered, it's not like we have to always like look over each other's work so much. So that's a little bit of a time saver. And sometimes it can help us brainstorm, be creative, think about saying things in a different way or helping to talk to the audience, especially was like, we have one client and I'm like, this needs to be Gen Z voice. And it's like, we're all millennials. So we're like, okay, you know, like ChatGPT how do you make this like feel like Gen Z?
Have
So
you, I have to stop you there. Have you seen any of the, there's been colleges, like college presidents, so they're boomers, and they are you reading a script that a Gen Z wrote, and it's all of those crazy words, like, and it's hysterical. It's a comedy post. I don't know if you've seen any of them,
I
but
think it's, yeah, similar.
it's a guy in a suit and a tie, but he's reading things and he's talking like our teenagers talk. And it's wild. It's wild. Like, this is lit. And this is like, I don't know. I don't even know the words. I don't even pretend to know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Slang.
Yeah.
But I find it's hysterical. But I think you're right. Having voices, that's a great, the writing and the voices and the tone. I love it for that. And I love it for brainstorming. What are some other tools you guys like to use for in or testing AI stuff for your business?
Yeah, so we haven't really got too much into like graphic AI or anything. A little bit we test out for a client, but what I'm finding is actually from businesses some pushback in that of like just the concern over copyright of using like AI generated images and stuff. So when it comes to like images or videos created by AI, we haven't used like too much actually, just because depending on the client, especially if it's a bigger, corporate business, they're pretty hesitant about it. And I've even had pushback in some of like, you got to watch like the AI generated captions too, like, because they always do that dash. And like, that's just like a giveaway that it's AI. And some businesses are like, yeah, we don't want that. We don't even, we don't want people to see that or to know that or to think that all our stuff's generated by AI. So there has been pushback already.
Interesting. Yeah. We're it's on the other side of it from a website stuff. We see when we're doing content, AI always puts colons in their titles. It's a two-part title and it drives me bonkers. I hate it. I mean, it reads well, but it's like a dead giveaway.
It's a giveaway. Yeah. Same with that dash with no spaces. It's like use a comma.
Yeah. Yep. It's hilarious. Cool. So what other marketing tools would you say are indispensable for your for marketing efforts in general? Not necessarily specific to AI, but just in general. What kind of marketing software or platforms do you find indispensable?
Yeah. So I'm coming at a social media angle for sure. So for the social media side, I would say for me and any business who wants to do social media management, get a good management tool, because that's going to help pull all your analytics and what you're doing together. It's going to help manage all of that. So you're not like, oh, I'm going to Facebook and posting. Now I have to go to Instagram and post. Now I have to go to TikTok and post. Like, there's some that you will have to do that, types of posts you will have to do that. But I think if you don't have like a management platform, I think there's just going to be missed opportunities. The management platform pulls, like, you have a calendar, you can like plan it all out. You can monitor comments on all the posts and all the networks in one spot, like as an inbox. And that's just going to set you up for success in like being, in tune with what's going on your social media and not missing opportunities.
There's a lot of choices in that space. Is there any, maybe the top 3 that you think are valuable or useful?
Yeah. So, well, we use Sprout Social, but that's because as an agency that allows a lot. I would say it is on the pricier end, especially for like an individual business. I've always loved Buffer because it's a great, simple user interface. Hootsuite has improved a lot. And that's been around for a long time. So I think a lot of people are familiar with that. But one up and coming one I haven't used, but Agorapulse. It's a European company coming into like the US market, but I think it's worth checking out.
I haven't heard of that one. I'll have to take a peek at it.
Yeah.
We have a social planner built into our CRM, our all-in-one software, and it does posting pretty decently. I'm not sure that I'm happy with the analytics piece of it. The messaging all comes in there, but I'm not sure that the analytics, I feel like I still have to go to each platform to see the most important analytics that I want to see, but so that's a shame. But
yeah, that's a lot of platforms are changing right now. But a lot of like social platforms are changing their analytics. So I wanted to mention this because it was super interesting when we talk about video too. Meta announced that all their impressions are now just going to be called views. So
Okay.
that's incorporate videos. So
Interesting.
before they had like impressions, reach, and video views. Now it's all just going to be called views of your content, whatever it is.
Are
So
they, I assume, do they have like a way to tell how long someone watches videos on all the platforms? Is that still a thing, or is that changing?
yeah, no, that's still a thing. Yeah, I think they usually count like a 3-second view as a view, and then there's like 10-second views, a couple different increments. But when you post videos, you can usually see, yeah, where people drop off and stuff.
Sure, sure. Neat, neat. Um, well, what about, so let's circle back. We talked a little bit about how you fell into marketing or discovered marketing, but what's a piece of advice you would give to somebody who's starting out in marketing, who they are interested in it, they want to know, like they're exploring what part of marketing they want to get into. So what kind of advice would you give to a young person who's interested to getting into marketing?
I think my advice would be to try some things, to give it a shot, see what you like. It doesn't hurt to take a client on the side, do some pro bono work, figure out what you like. I mean, I know I said that I fell into social media, saw as the future, but I will say I dabbled in websites for a bit. You know, I did some like blog writing. I did some like probably emails. So like just dabble, like
Yeah.
especially
Well, I
in
think,
free. People will do it, little like small clients, you can do it for free. Nonprofits, they'd
yeah,
love for someone to
yeah.
test it out.
And I think that I will mirror that. I did social media management for my website customers for a while, but then because I wanted to specialize in websites, I decided to stop offering that and just refer them to you. But you have to be, I think the key is, I think getting your feet wet in all of those areas is important, because you can't operate in a silo. If you once you have to have some knowledge of how your strategies impact their email marketing and their websites, how it overlays, or where there's opportunities to repurpose content. Like you've got to have knowledge in the other areas, even if you're not a specialist. And I think networking with people and having people you can share ideas with and brainstorm with who are, similar in interest or different, I think that's super, super important as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I dabbled in websites and I was like, I don't know how you do it.
So just flipping this a little bit, what kind of advice maybe would you give a local business here in West Michigan who's looking to improve their business marketing strategy and they're considering what they should be doing on social media? Do you have any advice for where they should start?
Yeah. So I would say make a plan. So I think the biggest like hiccup people fall into is they say, oh, I want to do this. Then they just start and then they fall off in a month or two.
Oh, am I guilty of that? Oh, am I guilty of that? Been there.
Yeah. I mean, we all have, like, we do it in all areas of our life with New Year's resolutions, right? Like, if you don't have a plan, you're not gonna accomplish that goal. So I think starting with a plan, and it doesn't have to be like, if you're like, I'm doing this in-house, doing it myself, like, it doesn't have to be a complicated plan, but like, put yourself on the hook. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. This is my goal. And then that way you can track it. Like, you can be in 6, 8, 12 months, you can be like, okay, did I move towards my goal? And if not, then pivot. But like if you can't, like
Yeah.
once you commit to a plan, then you're like, okay, now I know what I'm gonna do. I know I'm gonna like post X amount per week. I know that I'm gonna post this type of content. Like just make bullet points,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
sketch it out a little bit and be like, okay, this is how it's gonna work. And then it's trackable a little bit.
So here's and maybe to dive into that just a little bit, what do you think is the minimum length of time that a business should implement a strategy and then measure it before they change? Like how long do you think it takes for certain things to take hold?
Yeah, I think it depends a little bit on what it is in marketing. I want to say like 6 months is like a solid, like, is this moving the needle? But if you're doing paid advertising, that can be like a lot faster. You know,
Yeah,
you can like
it
start a
is.
paid campaign, yeah, and be like, okay, after 7 days, is this even working? And
That's
shift.
true. That's
Yeah,
true. So an organic strategy, consistency long term. A paid strategy, you can get some feedback data pretty quickly. Is that a fair assessment?
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because on the organic side, I think some people even want to do 3 months, but sometimes 3 months is literally you just being like, okay, I'm getting in a routine, I'm seeing what's
Yeah.
happening. It's not even like growing yet. You're just like figuring it out. Like it
And
takes time.
I made a great, I'll just full transparency. I made a great plan. I have all this work. And when I added up the number of hours it would take me to execute my plan, I was like, oh man, I need help, because if I spent all my time doing that, I wouldn't have time doing the website consulting and work that I'm supposed to be doing. So sometimes we get a little over ambitious with our plans, and my goal would be to be consistent this year, but it's like, okay, let's dial it back just a little so we can be consistent. Because I do think that a little overzealous planning, it can hurt you, because then you just can't keep up with the volume of work, because you have to run your business. You can't spend all day making videos for social media. But you can carve out a whole day once a month maybe to do it, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. So
definitely batch it, definitely plan it. That's what we do for all our clients. Like, we don't sit down on the day of and be like, what are we posting today? The whole month is planned before the month starts. And that's how the clients are successful. And even if it changes, that's fine. But I had a plan and one day shifted, I can handle that. But if it's like all of these days are moving as I'm going through the month, I mean, anyone would lose their mind.
Yeah, that's a good idea, to plan ahead a little bit. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find you? I'd love to help people connect with you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you can go follow Smith Social. I'm blanking on our own Instagram handle, so that's great.
I will be sure to I will link everything in there, but tell everybody how the best way to reach you.
Yeah. So you can follow Smith Social on Instagram. Me and my team are doing like fun videos. Check us out. Kind of get a feel for us. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Katie_L_Smith. Or you can email me at katie@smithsocial.com. Yeah, I'm happy to connect with anyone, or just answer any questions or tips.
Super. Well, I have always highly recommended you to clients when they come to me and they're asking me questions about social media. I'm like, if I can see that they need a plan or a strategy, you're my first name on the list. So, and I've appreciated all the collaboration we've done. So
thank you.
I'm sure that we'll both be talking soon and helping people here in West Michigan grow and thrive. So thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much.